About a year ago, I arranged for my team at work access to hundreds of courses online for free. Not work related, but on a wide range of subjects from communication skills to graphic design. Let me ask you, 1 year later, how many people do you think finish a single course? Zero. That's right. And you know, I can't even complain because that zero included me. Right? So what went wrong? We were all eager to learn new skills, but we were busy. We had people work to do. We couldn't find the time to make the effort. And many of us have gone through this. We even pay for a course and not finding time to finish it. There's a ton of research to suggest that in the future, when we have a multitude of choices, we run the risk of getting paralyzed. Yeah? And we'll often choose to do nothing. We have hundreds of choices on Netflix, but what? We complain we have nothing to watch. We open our closet stuffed with clothes, and we complain, well, I have nothing to wear. But now, and even more so in the future, we're going to have a digital closet stuffed with information, free information, and we'll act as if there's nothing new to learn. And it's important to talk about this today because we all have great things lying ahead for us. But the thing is that those great things often lie on the other side of a little jump. And taking that little jump in the future is going to become more and more difficult as our lives become more complex and more things pull for our attention. So if we're not careful, our dreams will be left unattended to. I've worked for many years helping people to achieve both their business and their personal goals. And this has meant looking at the little pieces that tend to make up the big picture. You know, those small actions that collectively drive behavioral change. And I like to think of those actions as dots. Yeah? And I use this concept of dots to build my first piece of software. I call it Goal Smashers. And Goal Smashers was designed to help sales managers track selling opportunities using dots on a single-page dashboard. They would know at a glance how their salespeople were doing. And as much as I love this tool, it never really took off. And when I look back at the user manual, I kind of figured out why. This is a page from the user manual here. It's 22 different types of dots, different shapes, different colors, different meanings. And people got confused. They didn't know what was what. So they started using the tool, they loved it, and then they gave up. They just went back to what they were using before, which wasn't as good, but it was good enough, it got the job done. And as I looked at this dashboard, I started to realize that our lives are just like that. We have a dot for the children, we have dots for finance, dots for your career, dots for your relationships, dots for your health. It's a lot of dots. I felt like I was getting a dot attack. Right? And I started to recognize that just like the sales managers, people look at their lives and they get confused. They don't know what to choose. And what do? They say, you know what? I'm going back to what I'm accustomed to. I good. So I realized more than anything else, people really needed somewhere to start. One dot that could get them moving in the direction of their goals. And to help them, I would have to create something simple, something small, something that could drive change with the least amount of effort. Instead of looking at all those dots, I try to look at the dot. And in looking at this concept of the dot, I went back to the original case of the courses I spoke about earlier. How could I use this dot to improve online learning? I created a course from scratch. I said, okay, you're getting one lesson every day for 21 days. Right after the lesson, you get an instant quiz. And right after the quiz, you get a 2-minute video review. And everything from beginning to end should take no more than 10 minutes to do. So I took this back to my team. I offered it to one of the girls. I said, you want to do a course? She said, give me. She blazed through the course, got 100% at the end. And she asked me, you have anything else? I said, yes, I have. I have one on negotiation skills. A little more complex, but she blazed through that one too. She got about 80%. And you have to remember, this is somebody who didn't complete a single course the first time around, even though she had a 1-year period to do it. So what was the difference? In looking at the underlying reasons why people didn't complete the courses, what I realized is that people thought they didn't have time to finish once they started. So guess what? They didn't start. And for me to solve this problem, to spot this dot, I would have to identify a unit of learning that would take up no extra time in their day. A micro lesson they could complete in their already busy daily routine. Because anything more than that and something more urgent would always take priority. And once they got started, it had to be easy for them to finish. They couldn't go every single day looking for lessons. The lessons came to them via email in their inbox, which they checked every day anyhow as part of their routine. And once they started, they could see how many they finished and how many they had left to do. Because starting a small action is one thing, but taking it forward is something totally different. And this brings us to repetition. Now, suppose I decided I wanted to become a professional race car driver. I've been driving for many years, over 30 years. I should be good, right? It turns out that just doing something for a long time does not necessarily make you an expert. What it really takes is purposeful practice, and that comes through repetition. So for me to become a boss driver, I would have to identify driving dots, those small actions that professional drivers learn to perfect. And then I would have to repeat those actions until they became second nature to me. So I'd say it's not so much about doing dot A, dot B, dot C, but really finding what's dot A, and repeat that over and over. What's dot B, and repeat that over and over. And what's dot C, and then repeat that. Until I had some sort of mastery over each of these streams of dots. And while I'm driving, I would know which dot to pull for. Yeah? Repeating these dots, though, is not always easy. You get bored, you get tired, you get distracted, and it's tempting to just give up. And that's why you have to keep the dots small so that you can move forward with a minimum amount of effort. You're going to worry as well about, what if I choose the wrong dot? Yeah? I want you to embrace the idea of making mistakes. We do it all the time in software development. What do? We come up with an idea, we create an imperfect prototype, and we iterate forward until we get it right. Is this idea failing forward? Because you don't want to live your life and not take any risk because of fear. And the secret to overcoming your fear is to treat anything new as an experiment. You know, try to adopt a let me try it and see attitude. Right? Because you're going to learn something along the way, and you could always make pivots into a new direction. And that's why we're dealing with small actions, dots. You're not going to walk off your job without a plan, but you might start a little side hustle, right? I remember when I was in Form 6, I got added to the AdMath stream. I was excited, AdMaths. I threw in my ordinary calculator and I buy a scientific one with sine and cosine and thing. If you see a boy, ready. First day of class, I sit down, AdMath teacher came inside. He said, I spot a dot. He didn't say that out loud in his mind. He spotted that AdMath was not my dot. He was kind, he was polite. He said, Andre, come outside with me for a second. He said, let me spare you the pain. You are going to struggle in this class. AdMath is not your strong suit. And he would know because he was my Form 5 teacher the year before. So he said, let's go and see the dean and find something you could be really great at. It's kind. And that's how I became a zoologist. Yeah, a 5-minute failed experiment in AdMaths and a pivot to a new dot. I ended up doing a master's in parasitology. You all know what that is? I was studying the intestinal parasites in freshwater fish. And I decided that's another experiment. I'm moving away from that. I found another dot, which was then pharmaceuticals, and then advertising, and then financial services, and then consulting. And today, I work in the airline business. That's some wide pivots to make, right? But if you think about it, once I left zoology, those pivots all had a sense of direction. It was really about a deeper understanding about customer experience. And to really define the difference between a goal and a direction, my goal was not to work in the airline business, but my direction was to understand more and more about how customers behave. So I ended up in the airline business because the airline I work for is very, very good at that. They're the best in the world. And having this sense of direction is extremely important. The other night I was walking out the kitchen and my wife, she gave me one stink eye. She said, Andre, wait, you didn't just go in the sink and only wash your own plate. Eh? I said, Han, wait. You're looking at this the wrong way. I'm making real progress. Right? Right now, working on my dish dot. Right? It's a very small action, but it's in the right direction. Right? I don't think she bought it. I don't think she bought it, right? But I'll tell you, directions give your actions purpose. They should answer the question, why am I doing this? Because if you don't know why you're doing it, then why are you doing it? Right? If your dots don't roll up to a higher dream you have for yourself, you're going to lose interest. Going to the gym becomes much more difficult when you're not aiming for the next carnival. No, and I could talk, I could tell you why, because when it comes to the gym, not friends. So for me, when I look into my personal future, I have to find a way to become healthy as I get older. And that means I have to find gym dots. So I don't have any gym dots, so I get a dog dot. I run with my dog 3 times a week. And I get a food dot. I stop eating beef and I start adding flaxseed oil and things in my food. And why am I doing this? Ultimately, when I look at my future, I want to be healthier, I want to be active, I want to not take those kind of medicine, and I want to keep up with the young people. But that's it. Finding these small actions that I could take that make my life better in the future. And everybody has that dream. You know, it's so much so that I had a friend come to meet me for breakfast in the hotel this week. I said, bro, let me tell you something. As you walk in here, I get some vibrations off of your boy. It's a thing happening with me now, all the time. He said, what do you mean? I said, it's a psychic vibration I get in. He said, tell me. I said, well, I've seen a lot of things, right? But one jumping out. Hold on, let me touch you, right? I say, I am getting a sense that you have a great deal of unused capacity, and you haven't really put it to your advantage. He said, man, I get chills. You're on the spot, right? I say, of course I'm on the spot. Everybody have that. It's not just you, right? I said, don't get fooled by that, right? So, you know, some false psychics will come and say, boy, I'm feeling that. We all have this sense that we have unused potential that we're ready to unleash on the world. Yes? All right. But sometimes that potential, you know, you're looking at a dream you have that feels huge and out of reach. And I want to tell you, you just have to start. Find something small and start. And don't worry about failure because you're going to pivot many times along the way. Many of us, as an example, feel like, boy, I have a book inside of me. I feel like a dream, I want to write a book. And all you have to do is what? Start writing. Don't worry. Every night say, I'm going to write for 30 minutes. And don't worry about what happens next. Just repeat and repeat because I guarantee you, at the end, your book is going to look nothing like you dreamt of in the beginning. But you know what? You're going to have a book. Don't wait to connect the dots or look for a roadmap. That's something that doesn't even exist. And Steve Jobs, I think, said it best. He said, you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backward. And I agree. Sometimes you look back and the dots don't connect at all. But your life isn't like project management, you know? Sometimes you start a dot and you have no idea where the next dot is going to be. So this idea of spotting your dot is very simply about finding something small to start with and that you could repeat easily. Aim in the direction of your vision with a mindset of experimentation and see where the journey takes you. Now, I've shared a little bit with you today about some of my dots. But to wrap up, I really want to ask you, what's your dot going to be? Thank you, everyone.